Because majority of the music that is played in Uganda, the majority of the music that is played here is mediocre. Facts.
Yeah.
And we are the same people complaining that why aren't we getting to a level of Nigerians? What are the songs you're pushing and trending in Uganda? And what are the songs these people are pushing in their countries? They are pushing Thames' new album. Clean, nice music. Ira Star, new album. Seats all over the place. Uganda, new album. Biki bino byakoze. Nga sibitegedde. Who are you to say to bitegedde?
I'm from a beautiful place, the Pearl of Africa. Hailing with a 256, it's in my blood. That's a gem where the mountains rise. With stories untold, the tapestry of cultures unfolding, so vibrant and bold. A symphony of stars, a celestial light. The drums beating, echoing through the night, just like a beacon of light. A reflection that's coming up from the Nile. I'm flowing straight into the heart of Africa with timeless stories untold. Sup, dog?
3, 2, 1, let's go.
Welcome once again to the Ugandan Boy Talk Show podcast. I'm so excited to bring you these episodes and these recordings from people around the world. Your celebrities, regular people, anybody that has a story to come and share on this podcast. And today, I am so excited to have the one and only Apass. This is one of the recordings that I never saw coming, but I always wanted to sit down with this guy and have a conversation with him, because to me, and it might not be the same to you, but I feel like Apass is one of the smartest artists that we have in Uganda. You might not like him, or you might not like his style, but his ways of reasoning, if you sit down and listen to an interview that Apass has done, you can listen to the wisdom he says. So Mr. Apass, welcome to the Ugandan Boy Talk Show.
Thank you. It's a blessing to be here.
So like I was saying in my introduction, Apass is also known as Apass Bagonza. He's a Ugandan musician and songwriter, and he was born in Uganda, and he's getting this recording in Uganda. I've always wanted to sit down with you, just one-on-one. I know it's not in person, but it's the closest I can feel to having a conversation with you. I can hear you can hear me in real time. So to me, that's good. So I'm excited to have you on this podcast and all the words you're going to share with my listeners today. One of the things I'm going to start with was the name Apass, how it came about. So I was reading, and I think it's a combination of your nickname and your first name. Where did that nickname come from? Because you don't use a lot the Passy. How did that come about to make that combination?
Passy, like when I went to Maryland in my S1, we had a guy called Passy. And he was like my caretaker. He was helping me around. He was in his S6. And when I came late to school. So I was put in the S6 dormitory. And yet I was an S1 kid. So he kept some of my stuff. He kept everything safe for me. So I was like his brother, like the young brother. And they always said, Muganda wa Passy, Muganda wa Passy. And funny enough, after Passy left, they were calling me Passy. They were never calling me Alexander. They were never calling me Bagonza. So the name was Passy. And because of football, and I'm a striker, I would always ask for a pass. So they started calling me Pass. So jokingly like that, the name came up and I was Passman. Then I was Apass. Then we were like one of my babas and one of my producers called Ethan. It's like, why don't you say Apass other than Apass? So we actually made it Apass. And A stands for Alexander, and the Pass is like from Passy. So that's how the name came about. And right now we're working with it.
Do you still play football today?
I paused off. I was playing with Dan Magic. We have our team, but then I got an injury, sprained my ankle and stuff. So I was like, you know what? Let me just pause off a bit, but I'll get back to it. I love football. It's like therapy.
Yeah, you're going to come back out of injury, or what I get.
Yeah, I'll be fine. I'll be fine.
So, Apass, you are also the second out of 7. What was your family background like? And also, I had a question to ask you. I think a friend of mine, I was telling one friend, I'm going to have a conversation with Apass this weekend. And it was Apass. Is Apass's dad like a pastor? Pastor Bagonza? How was your family like? And is that question like, is that legitimate?
Yeah, basically, my mom is actually a pastor. My dad is not even close to that because he's Muslim. So it's a different dynamic. My mom is into church, my dad is into the mosque. So it's two different things. But they coexist. Yeah. That's the beautiful part of it. And I respect religion. I guess I respect everyone's religion. I'm not very religious. I'm God-fearing, but I'm not very religious because I understand that both sides can exist and we all pray to one God. And to a certain extent, all these segments that we create as just identities, things we want to identify with. But the main thing is the creator. And I believe in the creator and I don't believe in bad, I believe in good. So I guess I'm God-fearing. I may not be as religious as my parents. And yeah, we take it like that. So my background was like crazy, like growing up with other kids, you know, different vibes. All my brothers have different vibes, you know, my brothers have different energy. One of my brother is into like technology. One of my brother is into fashion. My sister is into interior design and she's also my manager. And then for me, I'm into music. So
Are you the only child in music?
Yeah, I'm the only one in music. And I'm the second born, whole family.
I like the way you answer the question and like you putting in comparison about your parents being, mom is a pastor and their dad is close to Muslim, and the way you answered it of respect, because watching you, I'd never sat down with you before, but like just watching you from the interviews and your life, the way, because you're a celebrity in Uganda and you're in the spotlight, so we see pretty much everything. What you do, the news is gonna put it out there. Apass yabadde one. Like we see all that, but when I see you, the way you treat people, the way you talk to people, it's like down to earth. And there are these artists, the so-called big artists that do not want anything to do about it. They will never want to sit down to have a conversation with you. But that, from hearing you talk to the way you live your life, you're just a down-to-earth guy, and I appreciate that and urge other artists to just look at how you guys live your life. And I had Elijah here on the podcast, Chitaka, talking about your relationship, the two of you, and I see some of the similarities and how you two connect to each other. So I wanted to appreciate you about that.
I'm very humbled, but I think that stems from my family because my dad is a mechanic, always talking with people, good engagements. And I used to work with him. I used to work with him sometimes. So you're at the garage, you're meeting different people, you're conversing. And even when I was at school, my dad told me, make friends. Don't just go to study and be smart or whatever. I was not the brightest at school, but out here I am one of the best. And the thing is that it's because I learned life. I didn't just learn and just get the subjects and cram things and answer them back. You know, I learned to deal with people. There's too much with social capital, and manners and discipline can take you the world. I think disrespect and moving anyhow does not get you very far. It doesn't.
You said you're the only child in music in your family. How did your music journey start? And before you answer the question, today's podcast, we're going to talk a lot in the coming session about your new album that you released, Bagonza. That's my big focus, but I wanted to give our listeners a flashback of your journey to when you got to Bagonza, because some of these people don't know your journey, and I feel like when they listen to your music, they will connect and even listen to this podcast. Like, oh, I didn't know this about Apass. I didn't know this about Apass, and that helps them connect with your music a lot more. So we're going to first walk through a little bit of your history background, and then we will get to the album Bagonza. How did your music journey begin?
Music journey began at home. Because my dad and my mom had a side business. Because my mom was like sit-home mom. And my dad was out there hustling. And we were living in Chisenyi in Mengo. Grew up in Chisenyi. So I grew up from the ghetto. It's not one thing I just glorify or talk about the most. Because I feel like people nowadays want to praise themselves because they come from the ghetto. I lived there before you were born. You're out here taking credit for being born in the slums or taking credit for being born in like a very nice suburb area. For me, it's not the thing. I don't think it's like a medal of honor. But when you grow up in such places, there's just so much to learn. And there were so many kids. Kids would sing around, joke around, and stuff like that. But at home, since my parents had a side business, the side business was to actually copy tapes. My dad would buy a master tape and make copies of the master tape and sell the copies. Oh. That was his business. So when they were copying those tapes, they had to play the music, because as you're copying from one side to the next step, the music has to play as the other one is recording that music that is playing on the other tape. But they had headphones, just like those ones, but they were a little different. They had like a cable and stuff, like the whole thing. And I would put them on when they were copying. So I would listen to music. So I grew up from a family that loved music. So just listening to music, I never thought that I would even be a musician. I thought I was going to be a pilot. My dad thought I was going to be a lawyer. My mom thought I was going to be an actor because I have a bit of skills. I'm a funny dude. So she thought I'd be like guy doing drama or whatever, something like that. But funny enough, music chose me. So because of listening to the music, and even as we went to school in like Kampala kindergarten, because I started at Kampala kindergarten. So, but bringing you to school, my dad would always play music and sing it in the car. So I'd be playing all these guys, Abba, Seal, Jim Reeves. So I grew up listening to like dope music growing up. So that influenced a lot of even what I'm doing right now. It has influenced it a lot. But on top of that, like I grew a lot just listening to classic dope music like Afrigo Band and all these people, amazing artists, you know, Pao Cafelo. Those were tapes that were always in the car. Even to the stage that my dad got like a CD player. My uncle sent it from America and they added it to the car and all that kind of stuff, listening to Savage Garden, listening to Bolton, listening to all these amazing artists. So I think that is where the music stemmed from, like just listening to the music. And my dad was a big influence on my mom.
No, that's a cool journey to hear you, how your music started. And that reminded me of my dad used to buy like tapes. My dad is a pastor and he used to have like tapes for preaching. And this guy would bring his tapes at home, like this Billy Graham and stuff. But like on Friday night, some radio stations would play like non-stop mixes. And I really liked those non-stop mixes. So I'll grab this guy's tape, put it in the cassette, and then you hit the record button. So it records what's playing on the radio. And one day my dad found, like he puts in his tape to listen to his preaching or something, and it's playing some Bobby Wine song or some Saturday night mix, and he came.
Did you get a whooping?
I did.
You know, that same thing happened to me. I got like a recorder. The funny thing, it was not like I was recording other people's music. I was recording my voice. So I'd get my dad's tapes and start singing songs. Why me, Lord, why me, Lord? One day he's playing some stuff, is like listening to a song, and then he hears a voice. Is this going? He kept the tape. I don't know if he still has it, but it was so funny for him. He just laughed. He didn't take it personal. Like it was like, this boy, there's just a problem. But anyway, it's always fun to do stuff like that when you're a kid. You're not thinking, you're just doing your stuff. I think that's why my next album is going to be childlike. Yeah, because when you're a kid, you don't care. You don't care.
I like your albums because, and we're going to talk about this later when we get into the depth of the album, but like, I like your album because when you get it, you get it. When you don't get it, you won't get it, no matter what. Like, it's simple for the people that know what it is, you know. It's not something, it's not rocket science, but then if you really don't understand it, you will never understand it.
Facts.
But anyway, I was going to ask you a question on what you just answered a while back about, so your journey of music started by you listening to music and get into it. And fast forward on your latest clip shared by BBC Africa, the first question they asked you was the latest song you played on your phone recently, and you said none.
Yeah.
So did that change after you started playing your own music? Like now you just listen to your own music, you don't listen to other people? Because when you started, you were listening to other music.
Even up to now, I still listen to other people. Even as I was coming, I was listening to what song. AR-15 by Vibes Cartel. It's on his new tape. And that's what I was listening to. Like, I listened to other artists, but at the time when we recorded the BBC interview, it was the week where I just dropped my album. Like, how do you expect me to be focusing on other people's music when I have to listen to this album? Like, when I drop the album, I'm one of the first people to buy it on iTunes. And then I have to listen to it as a fan, the whole of it, over and over and over, because that's how you actually memorize most of these songs, by repetition. If you don't repeat this stuff, you'll get to stage and forget your lyrics. And I really need to listen to so much of my music so that I never lose touch with the music. You have to just have that repetition and listen to the music. So I'm in a state or in a stage where I'm like listening to my music more than listening to other people's music. And to be honest, most of the times you get so influenced with other people's music when you listen to too much of it, you tend to lose your direction as well as a creative, where you wander and just create stuff that is a bit abstract, though you borrow a lot of ideas from other people. I can't say my music is fully influenced by myself. I believe 90% of my music is influenced by external things, not just personal stuff. I feel like we borrow a lot from so many people. I've borrowed a lot from Michael Jackson. I've borrowed a lot from Vibes Cartel. I've borrowed a lot from Eli Wamala. I've borrowed a lot from File. I've borrowed a lot from so many Ugandan artists that you would not even believe I probably borrowed from. But so many people, it's like a percentage. It may be a 1% from so-and-so, a 1% from, like a 3% from Bobby Wine, a 4% from maybe Chameleon, or a 5% from a Bebeku. Whatever the percentage is, I feel like we marry so many of other things that other people have done, because you can't say you did music out of the blue and you inspired yourself.
That explains why your albums are unique. When you listen to these albums, even Mvakampala, African Yayo, Bagonza, like especially Bagonza, I mean, we're still going to talk in depth about it, but it's not just one style of music. There's different style in each song. Like, it's a different style of music. Like, you can give you some reggae, give you some dancehall, give you some Afro, like some just sing, you know, like, I like that because you give us a variety. You're not going to give us the same thing from the first song to the last song. Like, and that's why I feel sorry for the people who do not listen to it or think it's boring, because it's not repetitive. Your album is not repetitive. You're going to listen to the first song, and the first song is going to be totally different from the second song. The second song is going to be different from the third song. And I like that about that. Yeah. Because it keeps you attentive. Like, oh my God, what is he bringing on number 5?
What's that? What's this? What's that? Yeah, that's facts. That's facts. And for me personally, like, I get bored easily. That's why I create so many nice things or different things all the time. Because I get bored, I'm so creative. Boredom is like my source of inspiration. It's one of those. Boredom and death. Thinking about dying. When I think about dying, I'm like, man, I've died, but have I done enough? So I'm always trying to do enough. And I'm always recording. Every single week, every single day, I'm in studio recording something. I'm never lazy. Like, music is a serious thing. I know people who go off vibes. I don't go off vibes. This is serious. And when people see me joke around, I think they think every time is like a joke. But like with music, I don't play. You know? I don't play. It's not football. It's music. Like, it's business.
When I was doing my research about you and things I wanted to talk about, I was reading online anywhere. And I found this line, I think on Wikipedia, that says Apass has written songs for Bebe Cool. And then also, like, like you had a feud with Bebe Cool. How was your relationship with Bebe Cool, and how is it now with him?
It's the same. It's good. It's always been good. It's like, it's not really a feud. It was like banter, frivolous banter.
Yeah.
But I feel like so many people feel like probably there was like animosity and stuff, like something. But for me, it was never like that. Bebe Cool is one of the first artists who met me and really liked what I do. Bebe Cool wanted to sign me. This is what people don't know, first of all. Bebe Cool wanted to sign me. The day he listened to my music, he was begging the person who was handling my stuff to let me sign to him, which didn't happen. And he liked how I write. That's why I wrote for him. In the year I came into the industry, I wrote for him in 2014, and I just came out in 2014. For his album, I wrote 3 songs. And I've written more than 5 songs for Bebe Cool. So it already shows you that we're always working. We're always up and active. So for me, it's always that thing. It's like when I'm dealing with someone, I deal with them on a real thing. And if we have an exchange, it's also a real thing. I feel like I have to be honest. So when I was on a TV interview with him, I was honest. I was not trying to be his friend. I was trying to be honest to him as a man. It has nothing to do with our friendship. Like, I really like him. He's a dope guy. I've never had an issue with him. I love his kids. You know, some of them are my fans. I'm their fan as well. Like, Alpha plays football. I like what he's doing. I'm proud of him. You know, I'm proud of his family, the businesses they are doing. I'm proud of how he handles his family. He's someone you can emulate as a father. So I don't look at him as a West man. You know, and some people think there's actually an issue, but there's never been an issue. There's just love, man. I appreciate him as a man, and I think there's a lot to learn from him, good or bad. And I feel like people think that when you see something bad of someone, learn, like everything, just learn. Learn not to be certain things people are that you don't like, and learn things that you can emulate as well. You can't look at life as a one-sided coin. Like, it's 2 sides to things. Like, you can't tell me if you see something bad that someone does, let's say they are not a good timekeeper, learn not to be a bad timekeeper. That's what you learn. You know, don't look at that as a negative.
That is really dope. And this goes back to what I was saying at the beginning when I was introducing you, like sitting down with you and having a conversation with you and people who are going to sit down for this episode. I'm sure you're going to leave with like a lot of things to learn because you just put life into perspective. And for me, starting with me, because when I was asking you the question, I was expecting you to tell me how you don't like this man because that's what the media is portraying to us, you know? And we believe a lot of what we see on Facebook, media, people are going to post stuff on the internet. So we, the people who are watching you on behind our phone screens, are going to believe something different. So like here, for me, I'll think, Apass Tagara Bebe Cool. Apass hates Bebe Cool. But like sitting down with you and having this conversation. And that's why I love podcasts too, because people get time to sit down and tell you about their lives that you don't even know. So I really appreciate that. Yeah. And that goes out to all the listeners. So not to take everything literally, like what you see in your own way. So yeah, that's what we do. That's what I like about that. We talked about your albums that you've had, and I just picked out the ones that you have on Apple Music. That's where I get my music. Yeah. Mvakampala, which was released in 2016. African Yayo 2018. I already told you about Mvakampala. We were not recording, but like Mvakampala 2016 was released when I just came to the US like 2 years, and I was in DC hustling. But for me, the album spoke to me in a way that it was reminding me about my identity, like in Mvakampala, because that's where I'm from, and that's not going to change. So actually, the funny part is like when I was starting the podcast, I consider that to be the name of my podcast, Mvakampala Podcast, because I live in America, but I want to live with my identity of where I'm from. But I didn't get to it. No nkwata copyright. But no, I'm just kidding.
I don't think I would. I don't think I would. It would be dope. I've seen people make T-shirts or whatever, but it's a thing. Like words, it's just something that has been there. It's just that no one has actually magnified it. Some of these things, I magnified them, like doing a song like Kele. My city is Kele. But like I did that, like, you know what? And people have Kele t-shirts out here. They're having stuff. But that's the beauty of creating stuff. If you want, you can also use it. It's just a word, and it's been around. It's just that people had not popularized it. Like when I said Tuocha. When I said Tuocha, it's big. Even a radio station was using it as their tagline. But it was a simple tagline I had for my music. And other people felt like, okay, it works for me. And I think that's what we do. Sometimes the artist make the words famous, but doesn't make those words theirs, because the words are universal. They are for everyone. It's just how you pattern them and put them together.
That's facts. That's facts. So then after 2 years, you came up with African Yayo. And then after you jumped time to 2024 and you had Bagonza, but African, there are some songs that I really like on that album. Nkwagala, I think was it on Abantu. There's a line, my favorite line is fe abaliwo era tuliyogerwako nti twayitawo enjawulo.
All those songs you've just mentioned, all the songs you just mentioned were dropped after the album. Those were like singles.
Yeah.
Nkwagala, single after dropping the album. Abantu, that's after dropping the album. And even that song with Waiki Benda, that's after dropping the album. Some songs actually confuse people because they think they're actually on the album. But they're not. It's because I've dropped them at the same time that I've dropped the album.
Right. Yeah.
So you're listening to so many things that it's easy for you to think that, oh, this is actually part of that. But the beauty is that all those things are interconnected. It's it's like part of it. But it's just like some of the songs, it's like, okay, I probably don't want that on the album. Let's just drop it as a single. But it would have gone on. Because I recorded so many songs for one album. Like African Year, I recorded like 80 plus songs. Bagonza recorded like 120 songs. Mvakampala had recorded more than 600 songs. So just to even like pick off like so many songs actually have not dropped from 2014, from 2013, and from 2012. I've never dropped them up to now. So that's the crazy stuff when you say Fabaliwo, and all that.
This goes back to what I was saying. Like when you connect with the song, when you understand the music, you're going to understand it. But when you don't understand it, you're not going to understand it. That's going to be like that. But like for me, listening to that line is like reminding me, even the things we do like a podcast, like Fab Aliwo, years forward, we're going to look back and say, Twaletawe and Jaulo, like we had these podcasts, we had these people that came and educated people. Like for me, that's what I take when I listen to the song. And you'll hear people out there, hey, it's a new bat, is it a hit? Just because it's not a hit, it doesn't mean it does not make impact, you know? Like it's making impact in somebody's life. It's not, there isn't like, just because you don't hear it on the radio every day, which plays on the radio still, but it's the impact.
Usually people lose it because of this virality, social media. They think what is talked about the most carries more value. You could have stuff that is very thicker and it does not carry as much value, but it has talkability. There are so many songs that have talkability. You can't weigh them to my songs. Even the artists that are talked about, they can't weigh themselves to me. They can weigh themselves in terms of being viral, but what I have is something they would love to have, and I don't think that is what they want. What they're experiencing at the moment is not what they want. They may pretend because it's all for face value and stuff, but you'd want to be in a place where you have a string of songs that can be carried forward. Even after 10 years, people still play. Tuli Kubigede. Because I've made 10 years. Even after 10 years, people still play Mariana like it's new. People still play Wuyo like it's new. Like, this is what I've done. I've made timeless music for over the years. I've not been out here trying to chase fame, to chase numbers. I don't have the most numbers, but I have impact in people's lives. And even when I meet people, I can see the light in their eyes, you know? The light in their eyes. They're excited about what I've done for them. And that's the thing. For me, I look at music as a service. We have so many people who don't look at music as a service. They look at it as something they can use to get money. They look at it as something they can use to enable themselves, to get girls, to get sugar mummies, to get sugar daddies, to make their life better. I really want to make the music and do it for the right purpose of doing the music. And if anything comes with it that is positive, I'm very thankful. But my goal is to serve. My goal is not here to chase anything like fame. My goal is not here to be better than any other human being. My goal is to be better for the fans, to do a better quality job for them. That's the goal.
This morning I was watching your Instagram stories and I just saw the love, the passion you have on stage when you sing these songs. Like people out there in the crowd like enjoying it. if there's people out there, and I've had these stories because again I tell you it's internet, social media. People can post what they want. People can talk about what they want, but you see, I was trying to think about those arguments that I was hearing. Like, so somebody in Uganda would tell me, like Chris Brown's new album is not a hit because he's not hearing it, but like, it's just because you're not hearing it doesn't make that not a hit because it's playing in other people's ears. Like people are listening to it. And then the other thing was, the way I was putting it in perspective was, we grew up watching, there's some people who love translated movies. Somebody's going to come and say, your film Tenyuma, just because it's in English, it's not translated. But if he watched that movie in a translated format, he would say that movie is good. So
exactly,
if you can't connect with that music, you will say the music is boring. But when you connect to it, or like when there's something that connects to it, then you know that music is good.
Yes, Nanti Buliomo, just like Thingy, because I usually give that as an example. And I think Elijah gave it as an example when he was here. Abantu abamu tebali ku mukutu, bali ku frequency ndala. Ali ku 0.2, muli ku 99.3. Katasola connecting, they can't connect because they're on a different frequency. You're also operating on a different frequency. And music is like that. There are people who connect more to music that is disposable. There are people who connect to music that has depth. And some of us create depth. And when we create depth, it kind of pinches people who don't like that. When they see it, it's like lugezigezi. When you see someone who is organized in Uganda, people tend to say, I know lugezigezi. But you're not looking at yourself nti gwa magezi go tegasobola na kulaba lugezigezi lwoli. Okitegeera. We're having a conversation today with one of my friends. It's called Silva Chagulanyi. He's my neighbor and a friend of mine. And he was telling me he had a conversation with one of his friends who is a Misach. And Misach was hurt by someone who tried to disrespect him. Ngamuiso musiru. Person called Silva stupid. But then Silva said, Oyo akugamba nti oli musiru. Nze simanyi kyayogedde kyaggwa okubeera omusiru. Sikiraba. Naye nze kyendaba kiri nti ne buwandibadde musiru akugambe nti oli musiru tasobola kulaba busiru bwo. Tayina magezi galaba busiru bwo. Some people do not have the intellect to see your stupidity. They do not have it. So if they say you're stupid, oba nkugambe ntya like omanyi omusiru wakuwa amagezi aba akuwadde amagezi g'ekisiru oba kisege omusiru wakuwa amagezi. Because the truth is that talina magezi gayinza kuwa kozi musiru kyayinza okuwa bwe busiru. That means aba akuwadde amagezi g'ekisiru. So some of the people, I look at them like that when they speak. I see someone and I listen to his conversation and I see his breakdown of whatever he's saying and the analogy behind it, the whole reasoning behind it. And I'm like, wow, this is really nice for people who resonate with your IQ and EQ, whatever that is, you know. But for me, I can see between the jibba jabba, whatever you're saying. Like I can see between it and I know what you're saying, man. What you're saying does not make sense to man. So it's okay. You can say whatever you have to say. And I think I've learned a lot just listening to people and seeing what they have to say and their perspective on life. I'm like, well, you can enjoy that. That's why I feel like music is for different audiences and music is for different people. Some people can definitely resonate with your stuff and some people can't. I'm telling you, I meet people who are like in their 60s and they're big fans of mine. In their 65, 55 years of age. They like, say, I like how you speak and I like your music. There are people who don't like how I speak and don't like my music. And they're young people. And you'd think, oh, this person should be knowing and respecting what I'm saying. My friend, people, no one is accountable for your feelings. And I know that already. That's why, like, I don't sit around and feel anything when people say anything. Like, I get it. I get it. We can't think the same way. We can't reason the same way. We can't see things the same way. We are all going to see things differently, based off our IQ, based off how we view life, based off our perception of what it is. You know, whatever I may be saying may not connect with you, based off your perception, based off where you grew up from. For example, if you see some of these kids doing vulgar songs and making them vulgar and openly vulgar, that's what they know. Their mom, yali awemula ku kyalo, ng'era bamuwaana nti oyo awemula oyo tomuzannyisa. And it was a badge of honor. So what does the kid does not know any better?
Yeah,
the kid knows no better. So what do you expect? So sometimes when I see some of these people, I have nothing to say because amanyichi. They do not know any better. A friend of mine was performing somewhere. While he was performing, he sang his songs. His songs are very clean. Silver, same person. His songs are very clean. He's the kind of like artist who is singing about God and all this. And he sang, and when he was done, a gentleman came, namufuwe mitwalo etano. Gave him 50K tip. It's like, man, thank you for the music. What do you get? I never know never yimbe nyimba. Ngazi no, nyimbe zilimu meaning. The next person who was coming on stage is Abdul Muras. You know Abdul Muras's music.
Yeah.
And all this. Our music is very, very dirty. And when he came on stage, so you get an abo. When he came on stage, people started screaming even more than Silver. So Silver said, dozolabya abantu agambe kati oyagala mugambe ki. Like what should I tell this human being? You get the point. What does he tell that human being after seeing the applause that the man is getting? What can I inform him? People love him for what he's doing. But you see, all these things have their time. Their music is like a party. When you listen to songs like Nkudi or whatever, or all these funny songs, or Kwe Picha, when you listen to songs like the Gravity song, what was that Gravity song? Gravity song was very famous last year. Or Kwe Picha, like all these songs, you know, all those songs are like a party at home. The dustbin can get close to the fridge. You get me? Because you know the dustbin can get close to the chairs in the living room and all that. There's rubbish everywhere. But my friend, at the right time, the dustbin has to go outside the house. The cleanup comes and the dustbin will get out. It's always just a matter of time, and people forget. That's why I'm telling you, that's the analogy. Like the dustbin still has to go back to its rightful position, which is probably outside the house. And all that garbage will be taken outside. But at the right time, it played its part. And it was fun to have close. But now it has to get out.
I told one of my buddies that I'm going to record with Apass this weekend, and he said, get ready to laugh because Apass is very funny. And I've been just laughing, and I hope my listeners are going to have the joy out of this episode because it's really fun, and I love listening to it. But also the other thing that on top of that, there's some people who are just going to be haters. There's some people who are just going to hate. No matter how good you are, no matter how you can do the best you can, and you see like I did everything, but there's always that person that's going to hate no matter what. Hating, and we have to live with that. There's nothing really you can do that's out of your control.
You're right. Like they're zombies. Some people are like zombies. You've seen zombie movies. Even when they shoot the zombie, it still comes. They shoot it still comes. Like that's some human beings. And personally, like I'm used to such characters. They always make me laugh because I figured them out. I'm not bothered by what you're saying. I'm more bothered by what I think about what I'm doing. Let me tell you, when I'm in studio creating a song, I'm not thinking about you, the hater. I'm thinking about the best thing I can ever do for this project. And as long as I've done well and I'm happy with the project and I put it out, it will connect with the people it has to connect with. And it won't connect with certain people. And with hate, like I feel like majority of the times, these people out here who hate, they just can't connect with the thing. Like it doesn't resonate with their energy. So they kind of like, it's like a mosquito repellent kind of vibe, you know? So I get it. Like you don't want to tap the stuff. It kind of like fends you off, and I get it. And it's okay. And that's one thing I've learned. Like certain things for me are fine. Like the hate is fine. And I get it a lot. Trust me, so many people abuse me on a daily basis. But there are so many people loving me on a daily basis. So what do I focus on? I focus on the love. Why focus on the hate when there is so much love? There's so much appreciation from so many people. Thousands of people are enjoying the music. Thousands of people are enjoying what I say, what I speak about. Why would I worry about 1, 2, 3 people who don't like me and fail to acknowledge the people who love me and care about me?
On top of that, I saw an argument of somebody, I'm not going to mention names, because I think Bobby Wine taught us, and or you don't mention like somebody's name or something to just give it but I'm just giving it as an example. But like one person brought Amakuru, yeah. But one person's argument was, hey, auntie, this person took 4 years before releasing a new album. But, and this is why I would like people to listen to podcasts and sit down to have a conversation with somebody. Because here on the podcast, you told us, and actually, it was after what I said that you mentioned it, counting songs on part of your album, they were not actually album. So even in that space of 2 years, it's not like Apass was dead silent. There was songs, they were just not albums. Songs were coming out. But you see somebody who is actually supposed to be working in music, who's supposed to know more than the listeners or the fans, who's supposed to explain to the fans, like, oh no, Muchira Babulala, this is how it's supposed to be. But then it's the fans seeing it and then supposed to educate these people who are music critics, you know, like just because the album was not out doesn't mean Apass was not releasing music in that span of time.
Exactly. But you see, with the critics, some of the critics, as I said, like abantu abamu tebasobola tebalina magezi gasobola babusiru bwaffe tebannagafuna. Like even if my stuff was whack, you would never fathom to understand the depth of what I do. If you don't sit down and listen to my lyrics and actually see, because I put up lyrics from my album, the Bagonza one, of almost every song on that album has lyrics. Go and listen and pinpoint whoever you think can do that at that level, creating juggernaut of an album, crazy tracks, different sounds, different approach to every song. You find me an artist that does what I do. I do zouk. I do reggae. I can rap. I do dancehall. I do raga. I do R&B. I can do soul. What can't I do? Now, if I can do all these things as a complete musician, I produce. What can you tell me, like, if you know nothing about all these things? Even if we went into a detailed conversation about music, about DAWs, about setting up a studio, about how mics work, and all these things, you have no understanding of all that. So why would we have a problem? If I had a problem with you, I would be stupid. I'd be the most stupid person to have a problem with someone who knows nothing about what I do. I'd be dumb. And I've never been at that level. I feel like people don't get it. But you see, you have to speak to people who have ears. Sometimes you're speaking to people who have no ears. Or sometimes you're showing people things who have no eyes. They are blind. Why would you waste time to do that? I feel like it's a wastage of time. And I've learned a lot just with growth, looking at certain things. And I'm like, you know what? This carries no value. This person is probably looking for clout. This person is just saying things so that they can also see them that they're trying to say something. You know, they just don't want to keep quiet. They want to open their mouth, and it's okay. Just open it. Let people know whatever you want them to know. We will speak when we have to. We will speak when it's necessary. You can speak whenever you like. It's okay. So I think it's learning and growth for me. Like I've grown as a human being. I'm 34, like my G, like, you know, I'm not a kid. Like, I've seen certain things, I've learned certain things, and I'm on a journey to grow. And I don't even look at my age as a thing. There are people who are younger than me that I learn from. There are people who are older than me that I can learn from. And there are so many people who are older than me that I can't learn anything from. And I've learned that as well, that not everyone should tell you something.
I think for me, the biggest line was that you mentioned too that stuck out to me, that it's really somebody who doesn't know what you do cannot criticize what you do. If a person doesn't sing or do anything, like, where do they get the brains or authority or something to criticize you who does it? And that stuck out to me, and I think for the listeners, they need to think about that. Anyway, now we're going to dive into the album Bagonza. 42 songs. I don't think I have ever in my life, and if I'm wrong, you let me know, you or any the listeners. I've never seen a musician in Uganda who has an album that has 42 songs. Has somebody done that before?
I don't think even in Africa, I don't think we've seen any. You know, a person who does crazy big albums is Chris Brown.
Yeah,
Volume.
yeah, Chris Brown. Yeah,
he does volume. Like most of the tracks are like 40s. And we're going to make it 50 tracks, but we said let's just do 42. Because we recorded more than 120 songs. So we had to cut them down to 80, then we had to cut them down to around 60, then we had to cut them down to 42. Because I'm dropping another album this year as well.
Dang.
And that album I'm dropping is actually shorter. It's going to be a baby album. So it's going to be like a baby album. So it's going to be shorter. So yeah, so since I was planning for that as well, that's why we made them 42. Yeah, so it's just crazy how it's crazy how we think about music and create it. And sometimes you never know you'll create like a big volume of an album. I never thought I was going to create a big album. But I recorded so many songs during lockdown, so many songs. And it was specifically for that album, you know, which was a love album relating to the name. So I was like, you know what? Let me just record as much as I can. So by the time I was done, I had so many songs.
But that's also like explains or answers the question that somebody had on the internet a while back. Because if you see your albums, Vakampala, I think was like 28, 26.
22 to those, that was 22 songs. Yeah. African Year was 26. This one was 42. Yeah.
So the person who had questions of the gap of 2 years, now he came back and he gave you double of what he usually does. So that answers or fills up the gap of the space that somebody was saying after you spending 2 years without releasing an album. So like, he gave you double of what you missed. So
exactly, because if I skipped a few years, you don't have a reason to complain. Because the thing is this, if I don't drop this music, I probably will never drop it. And I just don't think it's fair. Like, if I have work out here, I want to put it out. I want people to enjoy it. Like, anytime, if you choose to. And this is the thing. I've seen people who are saying, I should have cut down the songs to 10-10. I get it. If 10-10 is how you consume music, get that album and make your playlist of 10 songs that you like of it. Split them in 10 and you listen to them how you like. Why are you putting me on pressure to now make you 10 songs? What if I made 10 songs that you didn't like completely? And you're liking songs that are stretched out. You probably like track number 1. You do not like track number 4 and 5, but you like track number 12. You like 16. What if I only picked the first 12 and you only had one song? How would you feel? But I've given you a volume of an album. So pick whatever you like. Pick your best 10. Listen to those.
That's what I do when I listen. Actually, when you release an album or any artist that I listen to the whole album when it drops. I'm not the person who picks, like, who just listens to one song. I listen to the whole album. Then after listening to the whole album, you're gonna find the songs that you connect with. Even people like, I like Apass's music. There are songs that I'll connect with more than the other because of the meaning of the song. So then I'll select those and keep those. But also listen to the songs with my, what do you call it? The lyrics on, because on Apple you can select the lyrics and then listen to them, I like to read the words. I connect with it better that way, reading the lyrics and connecting with my life. But anyway, what inspired the creation of Bagonza, and how did you come up with the album concept?
First of all, I wanted to do an album that sat deep in my heart. And Bagonza is my name. So I was like, you know what? Bagonza, and Bagonza is love. And the album I was trying to make was a love album, a soothing one. That's why you're not seeing so many tracks that are crazy, like high energy. There are so many songs that have a bit of energy, but the album is a bit calm in a sense. And I wanted to create that because I'm a peaceful human being. I like peace, I like calmness and all that kind of vibe. And I really wanted to create something that it was in that line. And I managed to do it, you know, with this album. And what inspired me was myself, like me and the life I've experienced and the love I get and the love I give. So I was like, you know what? I need to make something that sits deep in my heart with love, create a love album for people, because I'd never had a themed album. All my albums, yes, like Mvakampala, yes, it's like hustle, but it also has love, also has like Badman tunes. So there is a bit of, there was a theme, but it was not a solid theme where you're going to focus majorly, like let's say 95% sticking to the theme. All my albums have been, yeah, they have that thing, but sometimes they can go somewhere else as well. The first two. But this particular one, I really wanted it to be more about the love, more about the ladies, more about that kind of vibe. You know, you're speaking to your lady and stuff like that. So I feel like that's what inspired the album. I wanted to make a themed album and I chose love as the theme. And it's because of lockdown as well. People were relaxed and home. I wanted to create the music where they could sit and listen, you know, because time was changing.
When I was listening to the album, one of the questions that came up to my head, and I'm lucky to have you on the podcast so I get to ask you this question. It's like, has Apass ever been heartbroken? When I was listening to all the songs, has Apass ever been heartbroken?
Yes, most definitely. Like track number 3, I think that's True Story. That's a heartbreak, you know? And the song that follows it is Thingy. Is I think track number 10. I think it's track number 10. It's actually a continuation of that one.
Let me pull it up.
Yeah,
maybe we can.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I think it's track number 10 because I don't really easily forget. I know where my tracks are to a certain extent. I know where my tracks are. So those two were deep.
Yeah,
like when people listen to
on number 3.
Yes, yeah. On track number 10 is
Give You.
Yeah, Give You. Give you my soul, my all till I fall. So yeah, that was a continuation of the fun part of the song.
Yeah, I think those are the songs that I was saying to Ningamba. Hey, guy, you know, why was he ever heartbroken? Because you could relate. Because Wabanga, you have been ever heartbroken. Like that's why, like you asked that question, man. Yeah,
exactly. And Wamu was the last song to top up that whole thing, which is track 26. That was the one to top up that whole phase of that expression, you know. But True Story was telling the story. True Story was telling a story, and it was a true story. That's why I never called it anything that was within the song. I called it True Story because it was my truth. You know, so that's why I called it True Story. I didn't call it Gweweka, like how people would think, because it says Gweweka, Gweweka. Wejagala, wembera sefuna, bera sikulaba ndizeka.
Man, those songs. If somebody's listening to this podcast and has not checked out the album, you can even pause this interview right here and just go check out this music, and then you can come back to it later, because after you do that, I'm sure you're going to connect with these songs a lot even more. So Apass, with 42 songs on the album, how did you approach songwriting? Because at the end of every song, like I told you, I listened to the songs with the captions on. When the lyrics. When the lyrics ends, at the end of it, they write song wrote by Apass, and you see that. So you wrote all the songs.
Yeah.
What was how did you approach writing and the production process?
How I approach writing is very how can I even say it? Like I'm very airy as a person. Like I'm free. Like there's spaces within me. Like, you know what? Like I'm breathing lyrics. I'm breathing music. So I don't even have an approach. I play the beat. I like it. I think it's part of the kind of vibes that I want for the album. That's what I did. I listen, I'm like, okay, this feels like the album material. And I'm like, okay, what am I doing on this song? And I was approaching every song differently because those are all love songs, but they're talking about different scenarios.
Different things, yeah.
Each and every song there is not like another song. And for me, that's the thing, because I easily get bored. If I'm creating the same thing, I don't want it. I want to create stuff, but differently. You get me? Like, I'm like nudged, like from the back, like to create something that is just a standout, just a little different. If I'm talking about love, I can't talk about it in one angle. Puppy love. You see so many of the songs that come out of Uganda. Ugandans just sing about puppy love. Nkwagala, unyabulungi, nkulabe ntambula yo, inakabina akanene. I don't approach music like that. I feel it's very cheap, man. Like, how are we talking about this? Like, everyone is approaching music like that. When I'm targeting music and approaching lyrics, I listen to the beat, I'm immersed in the beat, and then I add myself to the beat. I'm a part of the instrumentation.
Yeah.
So I'm just putting myself, layering myself onto these layers of strings, of guitars, of pads, of drums. I'm layering myself on top of that to make this thing come out. Syncopation style.
This goes back to the people who criticize this album. When you criticize something, whether it's a negative or positive critique, or mainly negative, there's always something good about something. There's something good about something, no matter how bad it is. There's always something good about to look at. So for me, even before the music, before everything that we listened to, I noticed that you had people you brought in on this album, collaborations that you brought in. That's for me is a plus. Like, hey, he wasn't selfish. He could have released all these songs just by himself, because I'm sure you have songs that you can just do solo and you raise a whole 42. But you decided to bring in, I think there were 4 collaborations, and each one of them has like 2 songs. Yeah, like a double. And these are, I don't want to use the word upcoming, but these are artists that maybe the world doesn't know a lot, but you chose to bring them on your album. For me, that's selfless. You're living a selfless life to bring on other people to go with you. How was that like in choosing people who you're going to put on this album?
First of all, I believe that if you want to go far, go alone. If you want to go further, go with someone. Because they can push you. You can push each other. It's dialogue to actually go kick it. And I felt like having people on the album had to be people that I really respect. And every single artist you saw there was a female artist, first of all, because I've not done so many projects with the female artists. And I was like, you know what? I want only female artists on this project because they'll give it a different dynamic other than have guys on the album. And I chose not to have the popular artists because I feel like most of the popular artists are not really, they don't really care about the art as much. They are into the music business. They are not into music. I wanted to find people who are on the journey, who are focused on the music, not on the business. And all those artists are not really ready for the business yet. They're actually into the music. And for me, when I'm making the music, I'm into the music. I'm not into the business. When I get out, I'm in the business. But whenever I'm working, I'm into the music itself. And I was honored to work with those young people, working with Akene, working with C, working with Liko Banji, and working with Ali Naja. And just seeing them jump on the album and gracing the album and making it even more beautiful, it was an honor, you know? It was an honor. I see it as a plus for me, and I see it as a plus for them because the album also gives them a chance to be noticed. And I also see myself as an upcoming artist. I've never seen myself as an established artist. I see myself as an upcoming, and I don't have a problem with someone calling me an upcoming artist. I know some people take offense when they hear someone say, "Oh, you're upcoming," but I feel like I'm not a legend. I hear a lot of people call me a legend, but I don't want that. Actually, because when you're a legend, it's cemented, it's sealed. But for me, I'm on a journey of discovery. Every day I'm finding out something new about myself and I'm improving the art. How am I sealed in cement when I'm still out here working? You know? So calling me a legend is something I cannot allow to be sealed in cement. I wouldn't want that to be the thing because I'm still a work in progress. You can't make me concrete, my G. Like I'm still here out here being the sand and thing before you actually add water to it and just make it solidified and thing.
That answers the question where I say like being selfless and putting yourself not down per se, but like humble, staying humble, like on all the things you've achieved, on all the things you've done, but you still keep yourself to the law, to the ground and down to the people. Because when people get to that fame or that status where they're untouchable. These are the titles they have.
They want too much respect and stuff like that. You see, for me, credit and all those things, credit, people can put it on their phone. I'm not bothered if you credit me or don't, if you appreciate or don't. I take the appreciation, but I don't want to live for that because there's so much to do. If I'm out here absorbing so much of these things, feeling like, okay, I've made it and whatever, my G, we have a long way to go. Can't be here being comfortable. We can't be comfortable. See your podcast, you want it to go further. I don't think you want it to just be what it is right now. You want it to be big, you know? And if you want it to be big, you can't be feeling like as if what you've done is enough. You have to feel like there's need to do more. Just imagine if all of us felt like what we've done is enough. You would not hear this album if I felt like African Yaya was the best I would ever do and that's it. That means you would never listen to Bagonza. All these other songs, you would never have listened to them. You know? Yeah. That would change the whole dynamic of my life and how things would go. Trajectory would already be shifted and changed. But how do we keep moving in life? It's by wanting more, you know? Because just imagine if everyone felt comfortable that whatever they have is enough. No one would be going to the farm to dig. You won't have those bananas you like. No one would be taking care of the cows now. You won't be having the milk. Good luck you getting the cow yourself and milking it. If the people who are putting the pints together and cleaning up the milk and putting it in all those containers are feeling like they've done enough, if they felt like they've done enough, that simply means that the chain of everyone who's supposed to get to that won't get it. The guy who's transporting feels like it's okay. It no longer has to do anything. What happens?
That is part of my thing too. Do not settle. And I'm glad you mentioned that. That's inspiring for my podcast too. Like, don't leave, like, just keep changing. And for me, what I interpreted when you said you call yourself upcoming all the time, because every day is a new day. You're learning something new. And when you're learning something new, you just keep getting better. You leave that room to get better every day. And so that stood out to me. So with so many tracks, do you have a personal favorite song or songs that hold special meaning to you on that album? I know you love all your 42 songs, but like, are there songs on there that like hold like a special thing for you, meaning to you?
I feel the songs that hold a special place, there are many on the album, but the ones I can pick, like, let me pick for you maybe 3. The very first one is Bagonza. Journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. I've been hustling a billion times. I don't care if you hate.
I'll show you my notes and the listeners. Yes. The way you said it on my notes here, I have it. I was gonna give you the list of mine that I picked 3. Yes. So
that one,
finish your 3.
The other one is track 41, and I think that's Goated.
Okay.
I love Goated because it's also like a song that it's in my element of like, we're out here and we're gonna do well, you know? And the other song I think is My Dream. Those are the 3 songs.
That is crazy, because as you mentioned, those 3 songs, they're the same songs I wrote down, but the only thing is like the order of it, because let me see my order. I had Bagonza number 1, and then I had My Dream, and then number 3, because I wrote them as the procedure of like the album, you know, on that level. But the line you said about Bagonza, because that's the one that stood out to me. I have it in parentheses here. Like, journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. Been hustling a billion times. I don't care. That's the line that I connected with, because it literally speaks my life. Because when you want to go farther, you start with one step. And like you put in perspective about my podcast. Like, my podcast is gonna start with one step.
You build.
Yeah, and I've been hustling a lot. I wasn't like this 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So if somebody comes to me and criticizes my work in a negative way, I take positive criticism where I can get better. But if somebody comes in a negative way, I really don't care. Like, I don't care. That's my response, you know. So that's why those lines spoke to me, and that's why I had it on there. And my dream, because definitely I love my dreams and gutted.
It's interesting. It's interesting. You see, like with my dream, why I like it is because of the message around it. Like, it's like when you love someone and they don't see you and they can only exist in your dream. And that's the only place where they see you. And that's the only place where you enjoy life, because that's where they see you. That's why I was like, you're my dream. I'm sleeping and you're looking at me. Sagala kuzukuka, because you're my dream. I give my everything to you to live in your world. But how you come and go, it got me losing focus. Feels like I'm on fire and you're watching me burn. Your absence is a prison, so I learn a lesson. You shoot my heart without a weapon. I'm begging you for just a second.
Yeah.
I'm love stone and this is my confession. I want to see progression. But in actual sense, I never see progression. So it's like that kind of song. So it takes you to that place. And I feel like it was a unique song for me to come from that kind of angle, not really coming from the normal angle of like, oh, you're my world, but it has a twisted kind of element to it. And when you look at like Goated, which says Marilyn Manson, never Monroe. Dreadlock blonde, but never cornrows. Watch El Pasi move style and flow. Watch El Pasi like El Chapo. But you see, El Pasi is moving style and flow. Is not moving cock. Like how El Chapo was moving cock. El Pasi is moving style and flow. Watch you to copy where the bad man do. Banda ba dem a seat in a front row. Newe bachikola dem reach a plateau. Level yange higher than all of them floor. Bakubabi dandalimbu no dancehall, but I don't debate. Or say I me elevate, calculate, eliminate, attenuate, legitimate. Njali nenjala like I never ate. I'm just showing people I'm still hungry. Just like how you see me, like that's why that song shows my hunger, why I'm goated, and why it's the second last, relates to like Ronaldo. Because like Ronaldo is my goat. Ronaldo is my goat as an artist, as a footballer. I really love how he plays football and how he's resilient and how he's hardworking. I emulate him as a musician. I work so hard. I practice hard. I do everything hard in music. As Ronaldo, the footballer. That's my mentality, his kind of mentality. And that's why track number 2 is like Ronaldo. And the second last track is goated. Because that's my goat. There's relativity. You get? That's why those tracks are in those places. It's not really like, oh, you just put a track there because you wanted it to be there. There's a lot of relativity between the second last and the second song of the album.
That is dope right there, and I'm glad that the audience is gonna learn about that on my podcast. That's great. That's good information. There's a quote that I saw online too about not getting support from the media houses in Uganda about this very album, and there's a quote that says, "My album premiered on BBC One Extra this week of its release." I think it was released February 1st, 2024. But I've not seen many radios in Uganda contact me to have an in-depth interview and showcase the album. Many of them want to know who I'm dating. BBC knows the value of an artist like Apass, but you don't.
Yep.
What do you think some medias in Uganda did not show to have you talk about your album and show you that support?
Most of these people want banter, other than they would want like to have meaningful conversations. You see, a conversation like this is very important because people are learning something already. From just having me and you here have an exchange, there's something to take home. And I feel like people here want the majority of their listeners to be docile and not learning anything. Because if you have an artist talk about an album and talk about a process, there's a lot that you can learn. You can learn resilience. You can learn hard work. Just knowing that I've done 120 songs, what does that tell you? It shows you that I'm hardworking. What does that tell you to do if you're doing your day-to-day work? Because I don't take this music as a hobby. This is work. I'm showing you how I work. There's something to take home. And I feel like some of these guys here, they are not deep. They are very surface. And we have a lot of surface presenters in Uganda. They cannot sit down and string up a conversation with someone. They are babies in the industry. I don't think some of these people have to be on their platforms. I just don't think they should because they don't take things serious. Now, the week of the release of the album, you're having BBC reaching out to have an in-depth conversation with me. Do you know how many artists they would be playing in the space of having me speak on a Wednesday? And they're having me speak about my album. And what you people are doing here is putting my work down. There's something wrong with Ugandans. There's probably tall puppy syndrome or there's crab in a barrel kind of vibes. Because it's like whenever someone is trying to do something iconic, they are trying to push it down. Whenever someone does something that is beyond their understanding, other than ask, they're like, bino byokoze nga tetubitegeera, nga si byebyo. Si byebyo kubanga tobitegeera. Funa okumanya. Tewegeziwaza. Kintu kyotamanyi buuza. Me, I ask. If I don't know something, I'm asking someone. I'm not trying to act like as if I know. And I feel like we have a problem with our people. They kind of like put down things that are nice and they actually upload people who are mediocres. Because majority of the music that is played in Uganda, the majority of the music that is played here is mediocre. Facts.
Yeah.
And we are the same people complaining that why aren't we getting to a level of Nigerians? What are the songs you're pushing and trending in Uganda? And what are the songs these people are pushing in their countries? They are pushing Thames' new album. Clean, nice music. Ira Star, new album. Seats all over the place. Uganda, new album. Biki bino bye yakoze. Nga sibitegedde. Who are you to say to bitegedde? Wali okoze yakayimba n'akamu? Have you recorded anything? You've never done anything in your life that is at that level where there is even scrutiny. Where there's so many eyeballs and different people talking about that. Where people are watching you, judging you every single second. But you sit down and judge people's stuff and even you've not even listened. You've not taken time to understand. You don't know the depth. You don't know what it means to actually put things together. It's like having this podcast. There are people seated besides me that are doing so much work here to put everything together. We had more than 5 people organizing this place for me to be here. You don't see them, but it's work, my friend. This is work. You know, and I feel like some people don't see. It's because they don't see the behind the scenes or in front of the scenes, as I call it. They feel like, yeah, that's easy stuff. I can also do that. One day we'll bring you and put you on a pedestal and see if you can do it. You'll actually be shocked that you can't do anything. And you actually probably respect people's work because you know you're not capable of doing anything in that kind of line. And I pray people get tested before they start judging other people. Before you judge, have an understanding of what people do. Because when you have an understanding, your perspective of what you think or whatever you're seeing changes. Because now you have a knowing of what the thing is. But because you have no knowing of what the thing is, you just bring your conversations here anyhow. not well thought, not well revised, not well researched. And you come and say whatever you have to say. But you're speaking with an empty mind, you know? Like the lights are on, but no one is home.
My response underneath that, I think that was a good line to, I was saying, like, I quoted the song back from Bagonza line that I've been hustling a billion times. I don't care. Like, you know, I don't care.
I think that's why people say I'm arrogant, is because of some of the words I say. And lyrically, it's like, if I say I don't care, it's like, man, this man thinks he's all that. Blah, 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 he doesn't care. I genuinely don't. And I'm sorry that you think I should.
That is true.
You know, I feel sorry for you, but it is what it is.
It is what it is.
People tell me that I should stay in my lane. Do you know what I did? Can you imagine what I did when they told me to stay in my lane? I don't think you can. I touched the sky. Yes. I went and touched the sky. Because you're telling me to stay in my lane. So I touched the sky.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Now you're bothered. You're bothered because I'm going so high. I get it. I get it.
Apass, we're almost coming to the close of this podcast. I really appreciate the time you've given to me. I never take it for granted. You could be doing a million things right now.
Sure.
But I really appreciate sitting down with me and having this conversation. What are you most excited for your audience to hear and experience with this album? I'm
really excited for the audience to like dive into songs and get to know what those songs mean. If you're on Spotify, if you're on iTunes, listen and look at the lyrics. They're very interesting actually when you get to deep most of what I'm saying. Some of the songs are very sexual. Some of the songs are very deep love. Like it's different. Like you're going to listen to so many things. And I have lyrical jokes in so many of my songs. I have jokes here and there. You know, lyrical jokes that go straight to the veins because my IQ is high. It stays in the planes. So I try to make sure that I'm taking you somewhere. It's like a journey. And I just want people to go on a journey. Listen to the album. Give it time. Don't rush through the songs. Just take your time. Pace yourself and just enjoy the album. You know? It's not a rush. You can pick 10 songs and just go for those for a while. Go on the next ones. Get to enjoy it. And for me, I'm excited to hear what the feedback is. But I already have some feedback to the people who first listen to the album. I definitely will post some of the feedback so that people get to see that the album is it's not just negative. I've seen so many people being negative, but remember, they are not a camera. They can't be negative. And those cameras, the negative cameras that did negatives are way gone. Just like those people will be way gone. Like we don't care about what they're saying. But I feel like there's negativity, but it's in the past. We don't mind it. There's a lot of positive energy and there are a lot of positive, the positive statements coming out as well on the album. And I'm very, very appreciative and I'm very thankful to everyone buying and streaming the album. It's a beautiful experience. My expectations are not so high. I just expect the unexpected because even with me, I expect the unexpected from myself. Yeah.
Mic drop. The other question, when people release albums and stuff, they have plans for tour. Are you planning on any tours or live performances to promote this album?
Yeah, most definitely. But I think that will come with time because I'm planning certain things. I'm planning to get equipment for stage, my own equipment, where I can go to different regions to perform there with my own kind of setup, with my engineer, Baru.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to get things in order with Baru. Baru is learning more about engineering as much as possible. And is going to be learning more on stage with another friend of ours called Kabu, who does tours with so many of these big artists on festivals, the Chronixes, the whatever. He's like one big engineer out there in Europe. And my guy is also learning from him. They are very good friends. And we want to bring the level of quality that is top-notch to the Ugandan audience with sound on stage and just give people a beautiful experience in any region. Would love to do the tours. Tours outside Uganda, would love to do them. And I just can't wait, you know. I don't plan lately. I improvise. But we're going to get to the planning stage when we have our equipment. It's far more easier to plan things when you have your own things and you have your your own band and you have your system around, and I'm putting everything together. I told you I'm an upcoming artist. This is the beginning of Apass.
Yeah.
Let people not think that,
Exactly.
okay, I started way back, so whatever. Nah, that was just the genesis of this small guy. But now this is the beginning of Bagonza. This is the journey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My final question on this album topic is, looking back on the entire process, what has Bagonza taught you about yourself as an artist and as an individual?
It's taught me that I can do more than I expect to do. I've learned that it's also challenging, like picking the songs was one of the hardest things I've ever faced in my whole career.
Yeah.
This was the hardest album to pick and drop certain songs. Because if I made an album of the songs that didn't make it, people will be wondering why those songs didn't make it. They'll be like, wow, why? And I've learned, like, give much, but don't give too much. You know, take your time. Whatever you choose, it's okay. Listen to yourself. I've learned to listen to myself. And I feel like my choices are right because I'm listening to myself. Some people may not see it the way I see it, but it's okay. It's because you are not me. So you cannot see it the way I see it. You are not me. You don't live the experience to be Apass. I live the experience to be that. And I'm trying to be as true to myself as possible every single day. And that's what I've done from the beginning. And this album just brought me closer to myself, to my values, to who I am, to feeling myself. So many people are like these dogs that wrap the tail behind. I'm not that guy. Sisa muchira mabega nawe nga kabwa kasaggali oba akabwa kasiribiti. Okitegeera kabitingwa akabwa akatono kali awo ku kyalo kabeya. That's not my kind of life, you know? My life, I believe I'm huge. I'm larger than life and I move like that. I believe in myself. You know, I believe in my project. And this album is a statement of believing in myself, defying the odds. Who does 42 tracks on an album? What will people say? Oh, people will say it's too much. I knew they would say it. I knew people would say, oh, it's hard to digest. Oh, why would you do that? You needed to split it. I expected you to say that. I didn't expect anything else. I knew what was going to happen. Even when I come on interviews, trust me, I'll watch so many of your interviews before I come. I will know what to expect. I can't get caught off guard. It's good to do your research. Just like you're trying to do your research to know the artist and get to ask the artist certain things. I'm also trying to do that on my end. And I think that's the beauty in working around certain things. And that's one thing I've learned. And even as a collector, just to give you an understanding, I collect perfumes. And as a collector, when I look at my collection, I've learned a lot from it. I've learned perfumes I bought because I was just excited. I've learned perfumes I bought because I truly love them. I've learned perfumes that I bought and I didn't want them, but then loved them more than perfumes I liked at the first stage. Because I've actually loved what its dry down is, what the whole thing is. You know, not just feeling it off the first sniff and I'm like, oh, I'm judging it immediately. Sometimes we judge things and we end up loving them after and we're like, what was I judging? You know? So the mind could be deceiving. And it's one thing I've learned. There's a perfume I bought, it's called Instant Crush. And I thought I was going to get an instant crush. So when I smelled it, I was like, this is bullshit. I called my friend, Kenneth Oti, of the Perfume Plus. I was like, man, Ken, this perfume, he had actually even placed orders for 3 more of that perfume. I told him, don't place the order, cancel that stuff. This perfume is not nice. But let me tell you, the following day, my little brother is called Geoffrey Mutabazi. He's actually one person you should have on this podcast as well.
Okay.
He's dealing in energy, batteries and stuff like that. He has a company called Kara. He does electric bikes, and ChargeCo, another company called ChargeCo. Charging a car. So he's in that battery solution kind kind of business. He came into the house and came into the studio and he smelled something nice. He asked me, what is smelling nice in here? And I remember I'd sprayed that perfume on the couch. Trust me, it was instant crush. He liked it. Every single friend of mine, my best friend, the wife, all are a fan of the perfume. I have like 5 friends who all bought the perfume that I didn't like in the first place. So sometimes you may not like someone. Sometimes you may not like something, but it's probably you're not resonating on its connection or you're not connecting with it, but just give it time. It may be nice. You may move on so quick and you've moved on off something that is special. People go around saying the grass is green on the other side because they are not watering their grass. But if they watered their grass, it would become even more greener than the grass that is greener on the other side. So that's my message.
I appreciate those lessons that you've learned. It's always good for an individual to learn something from you. And some of the things you said here that I also do is like my podcast. When I release this episode, even if I'm the one who hosted it, who recorded it, edited it, I'm the first person to watch it. When I put it up on YouTube, I'll watch it from beginning to end because I'm a fan of my work. I love my work and I want to promote myself before anybody else. And that's something I've learned from you, that you also do in your work. You love your work. You listen to the album. You'll even go ahead and buy your own album or something to support yourself. So we're going to wrap up now, but I have a few it's not questions, but the friends that I told I'm gonna have Apass on the podcast were like, hey, we're gonna get Apass. Mumbulize, are you single? They asked me if he's single, and then somebody just asked me that. It's just that's like a quick answer.
Yeah,
you can just quick answer that. You don't have to go in details. There's like 3 questions.
I'm not single.
Okay,
I have someone in my life, and she shows me a lot of mercy. Because I'm a crazy dude, but she's there with me, and I really appreciate her. Not really for being crazy, but she's a good human being. You know, she's a good human being. She's someone I can learn from, and I believe I'm also someone she can learn from, and I really want to build with her. So yeah, I'm seeing someone. Yeah, I'm seeing someone.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the other people saw that you do dancehall, reggae, and Afro. Do you also do like R&B? Somebody was just asking, does Apass perform R&B and listen to R&B?
Yeah, most definitely. I love R&B. It's actually one of my favorite genres.
Okay.
It could be even like number 1, funny enough. And it's probably something people would not think of, but I'm a big fan of R&B because of my dad and all that. You know, and all these other genres that are soothing music. I like that kind of music, calm and collected kind of music. I like the rough music as well, but I really love R&B. It's an amazing genre.
Okay. The other one was not a question, but is one of actually my guys that helps me with my graphics. He said, man, I like Apass because he supports the art. And this art, I know like music is art, but this is the paintings and drawings. And I've seen drawings in your house, on the background of your house, and like big ones. He's like, hey, that's my friend's art that Apass has in his house. Tell him that I said thank you for supporting the art industry and guys who do painting.
Interesting. I have a lot of friends who do art, and I used to do art. I was one of the best in all my schools. So it's something I don't do. Right now I paint lyrics. I can't paint the paintings, canvas and stuff. But you've seen a bit of my art in the music video of True Story. I painted something. I think you saw, if you watched the music video of True Story, you saw me painting. So it's one thing I can do, but I'm just getting back at it. Actually, not finish that painting. I have to go back and finish it. And then auction it.
I thought, because this is before I even talked to you, when you mentioned on here that you are a collector. So I thought in my head, maybe he's just an art collector.
No.
Even when you said on the podcast, I'm a collector.
No. Perfumes.
I didn't know you're an artist yourself too.
Yeah, but art is because I'm part of it. My sister did interior designing and art. I did art up to my A-level. And as I said, I was one of the best, and I can draw. I'm not like just an artist. I can actually do art. I can. That's why I'm artistic even with my lyrics. You know, I can easily paint things a little differently. Yeah.
Do you do your own art covers? That's the other question.
No, I work with people, but I have a direction that I give them, and they also build on their own. I'm working with Nimi Media He's a dope kid. He does a lot of dope stuff. And yeah, I work with a lot of people, even J Effects, who did this album's artwork, kind of like the graphic side of things. The artwork was done by Hatimax, but the graphic side of things, I have these people who are creative. I like to work with people who are geeky. They look at things a bit different, not the normal way. Like normal is what you normally experience. I don't want you to have a normal experience. I want you to have something that blows your mind when you see it.
So the other one, and I'm going to be remiss without talking about, Elijah recommended you to be on this podcast. And when he was here, he was talking about the relationship that you guys have. First of all, that song with him, Tikito, is a really beautiful song. Yeah. Every time I see the clips when you guys are together at a place performing, your connection on that song is like out of this world.
It's seamless.
It's a really beautiful song. How is your relationship with him, and how's it been having Elijah in your life?
Elijah is a dope guy. I feel like he's a very talented guy. He's a good beat maker. He's a producer. He's a songwriter. Like we kind of like are in the same ballpark as creatives. So we understand all sides of music. And that's one thing I like about him. And he's a calm dude. He's not really all over the place. Yeah. You know, he's not all over the place. And I like human beings like that who are like, you know, they know their thing. They can be wild in their wild moments, but as a man to man, they're like good human beings. I like people like that. And he's that kind of guy. And I started working with him before he even joined Swangs. This is another thing. We even have a song that is not out yet. Baby, I'm in love when you are wine and on time. My, oh my, I owe you tonight. Twist and turn, skin can burn. Me and you all over the night. You tick and turn and a groove. Take a big man to the roof, then leave him alone. Not a deep freezer, you're cold. But me still a knock pan your door, can't leave you alone. Take it off, me say your uniform, cause your birthday suit, it suit you, you know. Put you in a handcuff, but you're no criminal, now you're deep in a love. Baby, follow me, cause in the end it could be you and me.
Otukubya akavulu
mpola nino bakuba mulaga.
Those are badiyo people now basanyuse bakubye akavulu akobwerere.
Chitambula lwakuba bajja kunsasula, you'll pay me.
In one of the interviews I saw you a collaboration with Vybz Kartel.
Yeah, that's a dream.
We're waiting for that. Yeah,
that's a dream. Like Vybz is like one of my favorite dancehall artists, and I was very shocked that he follows me on Instagram.
Wow,
very shocked. And it's a friend of mine who told me. A friend of mine told me, you know what?
Yeah,
you know Vybz follows you. I'm like, are you serious? Like, yeah. I'm like, wow. It was one of my proud days, like to find out that my favorite artist actually follows me. You know, it's really, really beautiful. And I appreciate his skill level. He's like top. Like his approach to music is close to none. I've never seen anyone who writes like him. There are a couple of people I like. I like John Bellion. Like I like some people's kind of writing, you know. I like Vybz Kartel, Oliver Ngoma. I don't even know what he's saying, but I like what he's doing. Strome. There are particular artists that I listen to and I'm like, wow. Like your approach to music is sublime. And it's always up to the time.
Have you ever got to a time where you regretted doing music?
Regretting doing music? I don't think I'll ever get to that point. I love this.
Okay.
I love music. Okay. Like I don't know what I would do without music. I'll give you an example. Sometimes I'll be sick and I'll go in studio and sing a song and become fine. Music is like medicine for me.
So now we're ending it, but I have 3 questions that I ask everybody who comes on my podcast. And these are, what's a life lesson you've learned in life to this point?
The life lesson I've learned to this point is to live and just be on the journey. Don't feel like you figured out things. What you figured out today may not make sense tomorrow, because of the new information that may be presented or a reality. that you'll actually get a reality check of something and be like, wow, or things could be like this. And I've learned never to settle. I know that so much can happen. I'm never stuck at a certain point and saying that will be the thing. So I'm always feeling like, you know what? Let's just go through life. You know, you do not know what is happening. You do not know what is going to happen tomorrow. Just live today and enjoy it. And just know that anything can happen, anything can be. And I'm always open to things coming to me. I'm very open to good things happening, good things coming. And I'm very thankful for what I have now. And I'm very appreciative of the moment. Because I remember moments where I didn't have a sofa at home. I just had a small bed, a small chair, but I was happy. Every single point of my life, I've been happy. Broke, rich, whatever you call it, there in the middle. Every moment that is coming in my life, I'm taking it with hands open because it's part of the journey and I'm appreciative of the journey. So that's my life lesson.
What gets you excited about life?
People. Yeah. People get me excited because I do it for them. I'm living here with other human beings and I'm thankful to be in a world that has people and I'm engaging with people. I'm creating things for them. They give me feedback. I give them my point of view as well. And I share my life experience. That keeps me excited. And the main thing that keeps me excited, which is number one, is life, man, living. As long as you're living, my friend, there's something to be excited about. You know? If you're dead is when things are flat. But as things are going, things have an up and down trajectory because that's the BPM. Even when someone is alive, it's a zigzag. If it's flat, you're dead. And I feel like once life is moving like that with all the ups and downs, with all the challenges, with all the failures, I'm taking everything, I'm just soaking everything in. And that keeps me excited. Failing keeps me excited. Winning keeps me excited. Being there in the process of finding ways to overcome makes me excited. So I feel like I'm not stuck in a particular place. So I'm happy with everything, the good and bad and ugly.
My final question, and actually you answered this while we were talking, is a signature question for the podcast. Like, who would you like to see on this podcast next? Yeah. And you're going to help me connect me to that person. I know you mentioned...
I've mentioned two people. Those are the two people I'd like to mention, and I pray you have them on the podcast. My little brother, Geoffrey, Mutabazi Geoffrey, and Kenneth Oti from the Perfume Plus, because I feel like they all have different ways of expression and they've seen life differently and they have different angles of life. But those two people, I see them as people who can get on here and give you something from a different angle and perspective. So those are the people I would nominate.
And that's why I really like, that's what my podcast is about. I just host people, no matter what you do, no matter what career you're in, as long as you have something to add on to the world, to share with other people, uplift their life, share about your journeys, your struggles, and uplift somebody else. I know you mentioned, you did one quote, like, if you want to go far, go alone. No, if you
want to go far, go alone. If you want to go further, go with someone.
Go with somebody.
Yeah, go with someone.
And I also have that, like, my podcast, I like to say we rise by lifting each other. You lift me, I lift you, we support each other, and we are all together in this. Yeah. So, Mr. Apass, I'm really thankful for your time, for being here, for doing this with me. You don't know how much I'm happy. So I'm really thankful for that, and I hope our listeners will have a blast listening to you and listening to your music.
Thank you so much. I'm very thankful, as I would say in my last words, and I'm very, very thankful. And I hope I was not heavy, because some people are heavy. No. You sit with people and it's like, man, they are weighing you down. Like, it's like they are too heavy to listen to. So I'm thankful. If I was not heavy, then we're good. We're good. No. Yeah.
We're good. I was laughing. I was enjoying. This has been my longest podcast ever since I started doing podcasts. I've never sat down with somebody for this long.
How long was it?
And have this long conversation. Like,
roughly.
On my time, it says 1 hour and 50 minutes.
That's crazy. That's nice. Those are the podcasts I want, because you remember having a have you seen the Joe Rogan podcasts?
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
go even
yeah,
for
I've seen
3
it.
hours. As long as you
Yeah.
have stuff to talk about, I think it's always nice. Yeah, it's
And
always nice.
that's what I like, because this explains to me that the conversation was good. We had things to talk about, and there's actually a lot of some of other things I left out because we kind of spoke about them somewhere, and I was like, I don't want to be too repetitive.
Yeah.
But it's deep. It's for me. It's like, yes, and I wanted, like, I got Apass this time.
Yeah.
Take that opportunity that you have him right now.
Yeah.
To just have that conversation you want to have. You don't want to stop in the middle. It's like, oh my God, I should have asked him this question.
Yes.
But
yes.
I feel content today that I asked him what I wanted and he answered what he wanted, and the people are gonna have fun with it.
It's
So,
nice, and I'll be happy to be back just to talk about life and not even
Okay.
just music, because it's also interesting to
Yeah.
just talk about different things happening, maybe in Uganda or whatever, because there's just so much. It can't just be about music.
Yeah, like that's what I wanted to do, because, and I'm glad you offered to come back again, because what I want to do with you next is your life outside music. Like, we might not even mention anything music.
Yeah.
I just want to know, because as fans, we know you as an artist. We know you by the microphone and the stage.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that happen
That I see,
outside that.
yes, a lot of things I see, my perspective on so many things in UG. There's just a lot that we can talk about, whether it's politics, whether it's like how people are living life, social media, how it's depressing people, how it's making others rich, how people are using it, what is going on down here. Like, there's just so much that we can talk about.
Definitely. It's good I have your contact. We will be in touch, and we'll plan that, and we'll be glad to have you back.
Yo, this is Apass. You're listening to the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Don't it? Apass, up and active. It's the baddest talk show. Make sure you talk for sure.
Hey there, my name is Bonnie Chibuka, the podcast host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching and listening to my podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, leave a feedback on this podcast, because that's how we grow. Thank you very much, and be blessed.